I'm back online and I'm going to ask you not to even mind what I'm doing because, again, these are just tests that I'm just trying to experiment here. And if anyone is online, if I have any viewers, uh, write something in the chat box because I'm trying to actually test this thing. So, not trying to be super serious here. I just need to see whether some of these things are working as I'm kind of going through uh, the test phase here. I'm just drawing on some sheet of vellum here. Nothing, nothing too fancy as far as paper is concerned. And geez, I tell you, it's quite a different thing to do something live. Ah, I got 6 viewers, 5 viewers. So if you're able to chat with me or put something up in the chat box, give it a shot and let me see what happens. I've got a link here. I'm gonna actually post it up here on my side and see what happens. Okay, 2 people. All right, 8 people watching now. And see if you can comment, because for some reason I don't see any comments. That's really weird. Oh, okay. Hell yeah. Okay, I see hell yeah. Alistair Gonzalez. Wish I could draw. Wish I could draw. Perfect pricing. Wish I could draw. Okay, I gotcha. All right, good. All right, this is great. We got some people. And by the way, this is completely unplanned because I'm supposed to be doing this tomorrow, but that's okay because hopefully I will end up doing more of these things for you. You know, the worst thing is that I don't have the luxury of planning anything, especially when I'm doing something like this. So if I mess up, I mess up, and you get to see everything in all its glory, which sucks, but that's okay. I'm a human being too. I'm not always perfect. I mean, my drawings, they end up sucking too, just like anybody else's. What I do here is that sometimes if I've literally not drawn, I have not drawn, I think, cars in probably quite a few months because we got things like vacations that you got to take, and there's also these downtimes. And I've been kind of planning some other activities as well. So I'm not getting a huge amount of time for me to get in and do things and plan everything out on YouTube. And not only that, I want to really up the level of the videos. I see a lot of YouTubers doing some really amazing stuff, and I want to inspire a lot of you guys. I want to inspire you to do the best work that you can do and to really get into areas that you're not used to, or get into delving into design or any kind of artistic endeavors, because honestly, drawing is incredibly therapeutic. It really helps people think outside the box. It helps people to do so many different other things. It's not even totally about being an artist, to be honest. It's being able to observe is to help you to think about things differently. And you're not always going to be making the perfect sketch, especially if you're just trying to ideate or something like that, or think of something completely new. A lot of people out there think that, hey, you have to be a phenomenal artist and a prolific sketcher, and that's okay. I mean, if you want to be a pro, but if you're just a hobbyist or if you're just starting out, none of that really matters. And also, there's this notion that you have to be born with the talent, and that is couldn't be further from the truth. You don't have to be born with anything. And if I had shown anybody some of my drawings that I'd done way back when I was younger, you'd be surprised. They're not anything to write home about. They're actually pretty terrible. So a lot of it is just it's just practice. It's just putting in the mileage and putting in the time to get better. And nowadays, that gets more difficult. I used to think that it was easier now, but actually it's worse. And I say it's worse only because that there's so many things that are distracting us, mainly things like Facebook and YouTube. And I'm just as bad as anybody else. I go out there and I also just get in there and start to spend a lot of time watching things on YouTube. And the worst thing I can do, especially now when you have an election year, you get stuck trying to waste a lot of time watching things that don't really affect you. But it's amazing, right? I mean, you get gripped and you sit there and watch and you get curious on all these things, and just a waste of time. What I'm doing, this does not look pretty. It doesn't look pretty one bit. It doesn't have to, because I will give you the excuse that I haven't drawn in a long time. And I'm not planning anything out. I don't really have anything in mind when I'm drawing this. In fact, I'm just freestyling. But if there's anything that you can take away from what I'm doing, is that I'm setting things up. I literally just started off with a box, right? You have a box, and I'm breaking these things down, extending my lines, identifying where my center line section is, and just freestyling everything else. Here I might just start to draw my door, and these things aren't quite correct, but at least what you get to see right now is just real time. I'm not uh, speeding up the video or anything like that. You just get to have fun, right? Okay, I'm just going to draw some spokes here. I'm going to identify where the position of the spokes need to be. And I am sitting here talking, and I haven't even looked back at the comments, so I might have to pause and see what people are saying. And you have to excuse the camera jitter or the shaking and stuff. Everything is cool. I got a comment here from Srinag. Ready to learn, Paul R. Hey man, I'm ready to teach. I'm ready to help you guys out here. And then tomorrow again, tomorrow is going to be funny, because what's going to happen is that I've got the camera, I've screwed it on to my extension here. But when I go live tomorrow, the camera's going to be facing me. And so when I go back to screw it on, I'll probably have to disconnect. So I don't quite know how that's going to work, or if it does. So if it disconnects or something, then hopefully if it reconnects, it'll come back on and it won't be a problem. But tomorrow, definitely, when you log in tomorrow, what I want you to do is to have a list of questions and some of the things that you're struggling with. And one of the other things I'm going to also talk to you about is a poll that I wanted to conduct to kind of get an idea of what you guys are all working on. What are the things that you like to watch, and what are your interests? Aside from drawing, it doesn't have to be just drawing. I know a lot of you are passionate. Obviously, if you're watching this channel, you're passionate about drawing, and you're passionate about learning and that sort of thing. But I thought it'd be cool just to kind of talk about other things that we're all interested in. I don't know, maybe TV shows. I'm a big nut when it comes to superheroes and that sort of thing. Even at my age, even ever since I was younger, I used to love Avengers, the Hulk, and I used to even draw the Incredible Hulk. I used to pretend that I could, I think when I was in elementary school, I wished I could become the Incredible Hulk and beat people up. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I don't know if whoever comes in tomorrow, some of you guys may be too young to know some of these things, but those are shows from the 80s that even now, when I look at them now, they're terrible. They're like one of the worst shows because all the dialogue is just so poor. But they're, nonetheless, they just bring back such wonderful memories of hanging out with the family and watching things like the Dukes of Hazzard. Anyway, I'm rambling, so I'm just indicating or just lightly shading things here just to pop out the spokes. And this sketch isn't the best. I'll tell you that right now. Already I've identified some things I just don't like about it, but that's okay. I've said this in many of my videos that if you never fall in love with your work, you should, everything is just more or less practice and a journey. You just work on getting better and improving your techniques. So here, pretty bulky. I started off with kind of a massive front end here. And it's too big. But as I start to hone in on some of my courses and improve upon the courses as far as how to get people to learn things, that's what's really going to be important, is getting people to focus on how to learn. Because there's a lot of videos and techniques out there that teach different things. And in my opinion, I think some of them are pretty good and some of them are pretty bad. And I think that people try to learn too many things at once, and it doesn't help. And part of that is just us. Part of the issue is just when we start to look into drawing and get to a level of a higher level of professionalism, then our expectations of ourselves are also pretty high. But what happens is that people try to get to the level too quick, and they don't realize that there's a process, and it's a process of a learning process that everybody has to kind of learn, I guess, the same way, which means just taking bits and pieces of it, mastering those, and then increasing your skill, or just taking a layered approach to your learning process. I'm going to stop here. I mean, this is enough. This is just, like I said, I don't want to go too long, and already I've been broadcasting when I'm really meaning to go through some of all this stuff tomorrow. But I will look at some of the comments here. Somebody was saying, how am I dividing up the wheel placements? Dividing up the wheel placements is typically, if you look at some of my other videos, there's typically, if you have a sports car, you want to have about 2.5 wheels between the front. That's what we call the wheelbase. Okay. So this is not right. This is more like a toy car. So I've got roughly, let's see if I do this, I got 1, 2, and just a little over 2, which is short, which is pretty short. This is almost like a little roadster. So this is something you have to keep in mind. So I would have probably had to have gone back, maybe back here, to be a little bit more, if I wanted to be a little bit more accurate with how I did it. So it's a little short between the two. Not that you can't have it, but it just depends on what it is you're doing. If you're drawing a toy, then yeah. Drawing a toy, you can even exaggerate. These wheels can be even larger in the back, or this can be smaller in the front. Do all sorts of different things if you're talking about toys. But it's just a sketch. And after you do one, you should be able to rip it up and go to the next one. So it really doesn't matter what you should never really fall in love with your sketch because it's just one of many that's part of a journey to getting good. So looks like some people have come in and some of them are dropping off. But anyway, come back tomorrow again. And I got Alistair Gonzalez, love from India. So, hey, I love you too, man. In fact, I love all of you. I love all of you. You guys have been following me for quite some time, but this is good. And I'm pretty excited to talk about a lot of things tomorrow and see how we can take things to a different level. Anyway, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'm glad all this stuff is working. I'm seeing the chat box come up, which is awesome. That means you can communicate with me and I can communicate with you, which is great. So we'll see you tomorrow and looking forward to it. I'm pretty excited and we'll take it from there. I'm going to say good night. It is almost 1 o'clock and I got to get up early in the morning. And some of you are probably already getting up. So anyway, have a good day and we'll catch up tomorrow. Take care.